hustling, grinding, you mad that you ain't at the top. And you see we climbing, our music is timeless. I thought you would witness the vision, but it's obvious that you blinded. I thought we was brothers, I thought we was fam, but it's plain to see that you don't give a damn. Everything cool when we out selling grams, but now it's a problem, a mic in my hand, man.
I feel you, my nigga. See, niggas be seeing just one way of life when there's billions of possibilities that happen on a day-to-day basis. Don't judge us cause you ain't where you supposed to be at in life. Instead of envy or trying to bring niggas to your level, strive for better from yourself, not people around you, man. Pay attention, wake up.
Listen to this flashback of Skyline Radio Show.
So where we at? Where we talk about the effects and what's going on in these schools.
Yeah.
And what people don't understand. Just real briefly, I just want to talk a little bit about what people say bullying is or is not. So bullying comes in many forms. It's a teasing, it's the cyberbullying, it's the texting, it's the phone calls, it's the posting of pictures and people's personal information to pretty much cause them harm, to have them feel insecure. It's the sex assaults that people actually put out there. There are physical assaults, and there are mental assaults and emotional assaults. And what I like to remind individuals that any aggressive behavior towards anyone that is unwanted and unwarranted in an individual actually to stop. Let's stop there. Stop.
And they should be respecting that.
Respecting that and respecting yourself, because when you're able to respect.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Hey, what's up, and welcome to the Artist Exchange Radio Show here live only on BeExposedRadio.com. I am your host, Nate Couser. I have braved the treacherous streets of Baltimore City to get here and talk with you. And I am here. I'm trying to share it out to a couple people that's online. And we'll be hearing from a few people in the arts community today with some resources for artists and freelancers and entrepreneurs to get a little bit of relief. There are a few people out there that are doing GoFundMes and grants and such that are trying to help the arts population, more specifically teaching artists, freelancers, painters, all those people in the arts. Normally, we're the people who are still open and still giving relief. But a lot of our gigs, a lot of our workplaces are all closed. So we're having to, hey Fayon, we're having to find ways to get around outside of just creating content for YouTube. But there are a lot of organizations. Two people that we're going to talk to today is Michelle Guise of the Impact Hub, and Alana Nicole. She is also from the Impact Hub, but they're both online gathering resources and putting them out there. Alana posted a couple days ago a page for artists to be able to, people send in donations, and she had been giving them out if you email her, and we'll put that information up there shortly. If you go to our page, you'll be able to see that too. So we're here. And if you're watching, if you're in the house right now, send me a hello. Please take a moment and share this out for me, please. I'll greatly appreciate it. And invite any of your friends that you may think that are artists that may need some of the resources. And she'll be calling in. Michelle and Alana will be calling in at 7 o'clock, and they'll have some tips and some ideas for artists to be able to get through this moment, and things that are not just for artists but individuals as well. I have a lot of friends that are now home with their children, and I know a lot of parents that are home with their children right now. I'll be reaching out to one of my teacher friends a little bit later on, and she'll be giving us some ideas on how to get through this as well. a lot of things are happening. We don't really know where to go. We don't know what we're supposed to be doing in this moment. We don't know when things will be lifted. There are a lot of half-truths being given out right now. But I am really excited about just the preparation that I'll be able to have in a few. And I'm really excited about all things that are going on right now in terms of giving us some rest and some time to kind of regroup and reestablish some ideas and get some things done. I know a lot of people are a little frustrated. Well, I'm frustrated too because my main source of income has stopped. And I don't want to use the word indefinitely, but we don't know when schools are opening back up. A lot of people are teleworking. We don't know when people are going back to work. A lot of places are being just shut down. The governor has given out a lot of notices and a lot of information in terms of what businesses are closing down. And he's trying his best for the first time in his tenure here as governor of Maryland to get us out some up-to-date information. We haven't heard much from our mayor, but I'm really optimistic that this isn't as tragic as the media and many of us who are just on Facebook posting, Twitter fingering it out. But I'm really excited about what is to come. And again, if you're watching this, please take a moment to share this out. Share it with a friend. I'll greatly appreciate that. And I'm trying to do, I should just share that to this. And yeah, so if you're online, tell me what's going on. How you feeling? Are you working? Are you in the house under quarantine? Or are you bored? Are you frustrated? Are you mad? Let me know what you're feeling right now. Let me know how this moment is going for you. Again, I'm trying to, on Artist Exchange group page, my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page, try to give out as many resources as we possibly can and helping individuals to kind of get through this, kind of reorganizing some financial grants for freelancers, artists, community activists, people out there. And these are real actual grants. A lot of people who already give out money. And I've been kind of talking to a couple people over the last couple days. And like I said, Michelle and Alana I'll be calling them soon. I also may reach out to David London and a couple other artist friends that I know. Sharon Nixon, I'll be calling her shortly. Just getting us prepared. I think with everything happening, there's a lesson in all of this. And there's definitely I think a lesson that we're missing, and something that in terms of, I was just talking to a friend of mine, that lesson greed, that lesson on that me, myself, and I, in moments like this where we are having to stay away from each other, it should show us how we should be treating each other. I've seen a lot of people be just very disrespectful. I had to go off on a store clerk yesterday because he didn't want to even put my stuff in a bag. He was that thrown off by everything. I caught the shuttle down here today, and it was crazy because they got it roped off and you got to come into the back of the bus, and it made me think about, this is civil rights movement and all this stuff, and it felt really disrespectful and rude. And I was going home, what was that? It wasn't Friday. I think it was like Saturday or Sunday. I caught a lift home from here. And I think it was like Saturday. I caught a lift home, and a young lady she had just had a young lady get sick in the car, and she was like spraying Lysol, and I had to take the can out of her hand and remind her that I'm sitting in the back seat, because she was just spraying as we were driving, and I'm quite sure she was excited and she was scared. But is this how we're treating people? Like, this can of Lysol, it's not air freshener. It smells good. They have the kind that smells better now, but it's supposed to be sprayed on clean surfaces. Like, you're supposed to clean off the surface, spray the Lysol, and try to disinfect it. It's a disinfectant, not an air freshener. So we got to stop spraying this. And I just see people in stores or in other spaces is spraying it, and breathing this stuff in can be more harmful than what you're trying to protect yourself from. it works, but we have to really get ourselves out of that space of just spraying this as if it's the end all be all to everything. So I want everybody to be a little bit more cautious, a lot more respectful of other people. And I know we don't want to transmit and we don't want to get any the virus. I know we don't want to get sick, but we have to remember how to simply treat people and how to not be disrespectful at all. And I'm at that space right now where I've seen a lot of people be very disrespectful to each other and not really concerned with how other people are feeling. That lady who I went off with earlier, like, I just think she was in another space. And I was standing there waiting for her to put my stuff in a bag, and she was like, "Go ahead, you can go. I gotta wait on the person behind you." And just common decency. Me coming in here shopping is why you still have your job right now. When a lot of other people are getting laid off or not having, their work at all, and you're sitting here being rude and disrespectful, it costs you nothing. You already got on gloves. She had on a mask and was covered up. Put my stuff in a bag, like, just common courtesy. And I think we're missing this lesson. And for me, I just take lessons out of everything, but I think we're missing that lesson that we're supposed to be getting right now. And us being forced to be separated, it should really make us think about how we are already towards each other. But people are being greedy. I'm seeing all these fights on social media. I've seen a fight in the market over toilet paper. Like, this basic things, and now we're going through a lot of things where people are stockpiling, so they're not thinking about the people that got to come behind them, but they're trying to get everything that they can get, and them trying to prepare. But if you take everything, what are other people are going to have? And we're not sharing, we're hoarding, and that always happens in moments like this. And I'm looking at this as trying to stay positive and saying, well, we only had one snow day, so this is kind of our snow day on an extended version of it. But we got to really figure out where we're going with this and how we are going to kind of combat this and how we're going to come back from this. We're hearing a lot of things, and it's changing on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes in the middle of the day, hour to hour, information from our government and officials are really it's changing. So I'm avoiding really going through that and watching a lot of those press conferences, and I'm keeping the float with a lot of the medical websites and blogs and sources that are giving us more factual, more right now information and not long-term information. I've heard from one group of people that schools and businesses are going to be closed to the end of the year or nothing, and it's really, nobody really knows where we're going. And I think we should really take a moment to just take a moment. Just take a moment before we make any decisions, before we think about anything, before we make decisions, and just think. But we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show, only on BeExposedRadio.com.
Okay. If I sit around, hold up. Look. If I sit around, hold up. Yeah. Rubber up. Let's go.
If I sit around, I'ma smoke some more. Wasn't even thinking about smoke before, but I'm in my hand, I'm in the bed. Don't know where I am, like I'm wearing a mask. Working mode, tell them where the cash. If you wear the cash, tell them where the cash. You get it for you, gon' run it back. I make promises, but I promise that. Don't promise me, cause I ain't into that. Fell in love with that and got hurt from that. That was all over in the curtains back. Can't see you not noticing that. I'm letting it go, it ain't holding me back. Yeah, I'm on dice, but ain't come for the crack. Drinking with uncle, we only do jack. I'm alive, I thank God for that. Praying about it, things getting better. Open it up with my name on the letter. Why you crazy about it? Saying whatever, you shy to be you. You know you gotta be you. Sometimes I need privacy too. Yeah, you know I ride. You know I ride. And you know you ride for me too. Yeah, you know I. Look, you like getting that hit from me. When it's me and Murray, just us get chill. I'm in a rush to get off to get you. Never ever had to floss to get you. Nigga dudes that it cost to kiss you. Rug burns on the carpet with you.
Oh yeah. You know, had to dedicate this to them
living in. Nobody knows what it's like being Gwen. Windows closed in the house, it ain't no seeing in. Can't gain weight for years, she been being thin. Single mother, no help from the system. When they was giving out food stamps, she missed them. Birth certificate, baby daddy, she couldn't list them. But her son was so beautiful when she kissed him. Blame it on love, but nigga she could've died with. Destroyed the whole world, I found out she was a side chick. The nigga loved his wife, and it got hard to hide it. So when Gwen confronted him, he ain't even denied it. Her fault, depends on who you asking. She tried to be a stripper, but the tip out was taxing. Buying all the mercy, trying to keep up with the fashion. And her mama hated baby sitting with a passion. She deserved better circumstances. A black queen, she should've been blessed with certain chances. Look down upon, getting all the hurting glances. Making men change up all the twerking stances. She never cried about the pain, only gritted her teeth. But most soldiers never get a flower or a wreath. She like G.I. Jane in the war with no relief. Don't recognize why killers was going through her beat. She said more prayers than the nun did. After seeing so much struggles with only one kid, the clinic said baby number 2 couldn't be undid. 9 months later, delivery and it's one big. But this time it was an older dude. But the shit happened so fast, she barely know the dude. Damn, but we all make mistakes though. And the older we get, that's how mistakes go. So he claimed the baby, now with no money. He said shit was hard and his dollars was kinda funny. Real was feeling like that was strike 2. So when it rains and pours, that's just how life do. She was thinking about her childhood and how life flew. Her daddy she always loved, but she never quite knew. This was before the bags and the cellulite group. Other bitches in her shoe, no telling what they might do. You lose a lot of friends, they start to despite you. Pass a judgment when they don't got the right to. And even though I love the gangsters, the same for the gangsters. I remember you no matter how big the fame gets. Paint a perfect picture, baby you can frame this. As long as I'm slapping, you will never be nameless. While I was robbing, you did things that was shameless. Both products of our environment, we was blameless. They deserve better, those women who raised me. Who went out of town with us in that day's end. The ones we leave on the streets when them days in. Got Sligh right with us when the feds blaze in. Not only men is going through it on the wild turf, but the women too. Add that to the child birth. Kids raising kids, not knowing what a child worth. How you walk in their shoes when every mile hurt. Serve down the nigga, now you can't get respect from him. Think you should fuck just cause you got a check from him. It's bad, ask him where is his pad. The broke niggas always bitter, it is sad. So what they done to you, they done to me, they done to us. So when I speak of real niggas, just know you one of us.
This is a Poverty EMT exclusive. Next stop, Texaco, strapped up, you already know. Fuck niggas hate, that's how it goes. Goes with me, yeah, it's time to go.
Old nigga chose by another nigga, bitch. This chopper got 50 round clip. So this money in the syrup got me keep shorty. Ain't no I pop them zaddies and I'm sleeping on me. Love in a hood full of hate. Pray to God that he open up the gates. Rest in peace to Freddie Gray and Lil Scooter. Putting on bro, I said he watches daughter.
Next stop, Texaco, strapped up, you already know. Fuck niggas hate, that's how it goes. Goes with me, yeah, it's time to go. Issues make me blast, but sometimes chill short, I be back shortly. bounce, I'm a fool with it. Got rats and niggas that's cool with it. You got a cold heart till that ooh hit it. Stop fucking with it. Got my mind set, see my mind state is at a high rate. Next stop, Texaco, strapped up, you already know. Fuck niggas hate, that's how it goes. Rolls with me, yeah, it's time to go.
What it is, radio show.
Alright, listen. Alright, say situation. Cause I keep telling y'all it's different situations in the child support thing. You can't just pinpoint one thing. You can't just say, oh, here did be. That's why you're on child support. Oh, he this. That's why you're on child support. Oh, she this. That's why she on child support. No. Sometimes it could just go off of, oh, I just called him and asked him, can he pay for the pictures? He ain't want to pay for the pictures. I'm taking his ass downtown. Yep.
Well, you got to know. Know who you dating.
Hold up. I just called her and asked, could she just get Junior some shoes? She couldn't even get him no church shoes. I'm taking her ass downtown. Now, when you go downtown, you go down there and you get $500. Right? Now you mad because you get $500 and now you really ain't getting no shoes for Junior or Lord CC because you getting $500 now. Right?
Yeah, but you gotta remember, if you're a good father or a good mother and you paying child support, right, you still gonna go ahead and do all that because
hold up.
It's just what it is.
Now, hold on. And that's another situation. Right. But you know what that creates? Now when we at the party, Mommy and Daddy ain't even down there speaking to each other. Cause Daddy done paid for the party and he done came out of pocket this month with $600.
Right, that's your child.
Be mad.
Listen. He shouldn't be mad, but he also has another child with his wife.
That's on him. Okay, go ahead.
He got another child with his wife.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. And you're taking away from them. And they taking away from him.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome back to the Artist Exchange Radio Show here live only on BeExposedRadio.com. I'm here with you on this Friday in the midst of a pandemic. I never thought I would say that in my lifetime, but hey, every day is a new day. And I have two people with me right now. Right here to my immediate right is Laura Sligh. She is a MICA graduate student. Mm-hmm. And I first met her at Arena Players, and she was with the Youth Theater, and she's a member of the Arena Players as well, but she's an artist nevertheless. And on the phone right now, I'm going to talk a little bit with Miss Michelle Guise. She is one of the founders of the Impact Hub Baltimore site. And I contacted her because she had been online along with her Alana Nicole, who we're going to talk to soon as well. And they have been kind of pulling together a lot of resources, and that's what they do at Impact Hub for a lot of their entrepreneurs. But I wanted to speak to you specifically, Michelle, to kind of give us some type of, what do we do without us panicking? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, thanks so much for having me on. And, first and foremost, what we're doing is the first thing to do is take care of each other and try to get as much information out there as it comes. I think what we've seen this week is it's different every single day, and we're part of strategy that we're taking, and I think a lot of our community is taking, staying flexible, breathing through it, and then finding resources where you can, and try to also minimize expenses out the door. So there's sort of simple survival that is going on right now. People are helping each other. Joanna will talk to you a little bit later about her other support fund that she just popped up over the weekend and has already been getting sent out, person to person. Those are some of the really simple, amazing things that have been going on, being around. And then, I would just also really advise people to, lock up with your friends, call and check in on each other, and figure out what your plan looks like for the next 30, 60, 90 days, knowing that it's going to take a while for everything to normalize, and it's going to take a little while for solutions to actually hit the ground and really hit people who need it the most. So,
and that's even if things open back up soon, it may still take that long for things to kind of normalize and get back to some type of semblance of normal.
I think that's right. We've seen, I think artists and a lot of the creative community, creative businesses, folks that rely on event revenue, people that have shows and, are bringing people together as one of the main ways that they make funds. It really hits first, and we started seeing those dominoes fall as everybody's events and conferences were getting canceled across the country. And so, I think it's really important to know, that's not all going to come back right away, and so it's good to think about contingency plans. I'm seeing a lot of people, small businesses and artists too, just start to rethink about, what do I care most about? What are my biggest priorities? What am I offering? Figure out ways to do that remotely and through these other kind of online platforms, especially.
And in terms of what we could expect in terms of the artist community, some of those resources that you were putting out, they weren't necessarily like, hey, I'm going to give you this money, but they were more so grants or just ideas in how to prepare and what we could be doing right now in the meantime. Can you talk about some of those things that you were trying to put together in terms of like a resource packet?
Yeah. So I think everybody's been getting 800,000 COVID emails this week. And so what we were doing is it's just populating with Google Doc, and it's up on our website, and it's live. There's usually about 15 people in there looking at it every minute. So we're just kind of keeping a lot of links up there so people can start to find their way through it and have kind of a centralized database for looking at things. There's a lot of resources on there for artists. Many of the things are about kind of planning and sort of finding your way through this, and some of the funds are still getting set up. So one of the things we saw, I think it was this morning, Baltimore Community Foundation announced there's going to be, they've got an emergency relief fund, but it's still in the phase where they're collecting donations. So I think it's going to be still a little while before it's out the door. We're also circling up with our good friends at MICA, who run the Baltimore Creative Acceleration Network, Beacon, as well as Made in Baltimore, Open Works, who work with a lot of maker businesses, and Innovation Works, that work with a lot of social enterprise and neighborhood businesses, to coordinate plans. So we're talking every week. And one of the things that we really know is needed is a fund that's dedicated for artists, creative businesses, and folks that were hit first by a lot of the shutdown that we're experiencing.
So in terms of the Impact Hub, are there some strategies that you all are putting into place for when we come back to kind of help a lot of businesses? Because you all stay afloat because of social entrepreneurs and small businesses.
Yeah, our plan sort of changes every day, and I think that's what it's looking like for everybody. Before we're even everybody up and open, I think we're going to see a lot of online content where people are getting coaching, mentoring, even just one-on-one calls, those sorts of things to try to troubleshoot with people on very specific, like case-by-case bases, and then also helping people get tools in their hands for planning for the long term. We're also sharing out a lot of examples of how people are retooling in the local business community, folks that are going online and are able to kind of adapt. With the idea that hopefully that'll inspire other businesses to be able to retool like that, and I think there's probably a lot of examples like that in the artist community as well, where people are getting really creative. I know Bandcamp was doing some like fundraising today on their platform, although I haven't been able to get the site to load this afternoon. Maybe it's just my internet, but or maybe it's that it's been really popular. But there's a lot of resources out there that are starting to wind up, and so I would keep an eye on any of the people that you normally go to for advice, for support, people that you trust, people that kind of pay attention to the work that you do, and go to them and say, what are you doing? What should I pay attention to right now? What advice do you have? And I think everybody is trying to be extremely doors open to be able to be helpful to people and get the flow of information out as fast as possible, because people need support right now.
Is there, we have a couple more minutes, but in closing for you, is there any advice that you can give to many entrepreneurs right now that are struggling with just thinking about making payments or paying bills or being an artist if they had canceled shows? I know that's a lot, but any advice that you can give in terms of what you do for Impact Hub and getting organized or being restructured?
Yeah, I mean, I think for everybody right now, take a look at your expenses, see which ones you've got some amount of control over. There's a lot of people getting amnesty around rent. People cannot be evicted right now. So I think it's good to, rather than just stop paying, I think it's good to have conversations, to talk to your landlord, ask them how they're thinking about this, to have some really open communication with anybody that you can to try to get your expenses down. That's one. And then look for ways to bring different kinds of new revenue in, or at the very least, kind of new audience, new clients, new relationships, however you can. Because one thing I think is important to think about is how those business pipelines and kind of gigs and contracts and client pipelines are all going to wind back up. Because it won't happen overnight, especially for events and gatherings. So, all the solutions aren't out there right now, but as they come online, it's going to be, it'll be coming from the community itself. So be in touch with your fellow artists, even though you're at home. Give each other a call, meet up in public, stay 6 feet away, and just kind of be acting as a support network right now, and then think through, what are some really practical solutions to get your expenses down, to get to stabilize any source of revenue that you do have.
I really appreciate it, and I'm gonna stay in touch with you as well, because it was very overwhelming to have to, just Friday, we just thought we was going to have a regular day off, me being a school teacher and trying to figure out, okay, so what are we going to do next week and how are we going to get back on course. But this was just a lot at one time. So I appreciate it for people like you and Alana for starting to just throw out resources, because it was like, what do we do? We're normally the ones that are the only ones that are still open and available. So what happens when the artists don't have a platform? But I thank you and appreciate the alternatives and options that you have been throwing out. And I'm here if y'all need a platform to be able to springboard some of those things off to you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll let you know as soon as we announce there's money coming out the door that's relevant for artists, for creative entrepreneurs, for anybody out there who's really had their rug pulled out from under them. And then the one last thing I'll leave you is I think all of us can play some role in helping, and it can really help to manage our own anxiety.
Yes.
It's just to be like, okay, well, I can do this one little thing, even if it's helping a neighbor with something, or if it's,
so just taking little things, taking the time.
Really simple things that I think it's good to think about those right now, to sort of take up some of that energy, that nervous energy, and put it into anywhere that's calling you right now, anything that feels like it's wanting your energy. I think just trust your intuition and do that work.
Right. I appreciate that because that's where I was on this weekend. Like, what are we going to do? What am I going to do? Wishing I was in the classrooms with those children at that moment. But thank you again, Michelle, and I'll keep in contact and let me know if there's anything that I can do to continue to spread the word for you or share out and with whatever information you may have as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nate. It's really fun to be on the show.
And give us the information again for Impact Hub.
So if you head over to our website, baltimore.impacthub.net, that is where you can click through and find the Google Doc. It's not beautiful, but it's there. And it has a lot of resources that are both like local, state, federal, and then just if we find job opportunities, we're going to be posting them there too. And then follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. All of those channels are firing kind of full steam right now. We also created a group on Facebook called Baltimore Creative Entrepreneurs. It's just reactivated a group from 2012 to just make sure that people could be sharing information with each other. The last thing we want to do is bottleneck any flow of information. So get on there and share with your peers and ask questions.
Thank you. Platforms. I appreciate that. Be safe out there.
Thank you. You too.
So that was Miss Michelle Guise from Impact Hub Baltimore. She is one of the founders and kind of the operations manager there. And they have been putting up a number of resources. One, we're going to speak to Alana a little bit later on. And they kind of are supporting her in her effort where she just put out a random post asking, she started off the drive with a couple dollars out of her own pocket, and people have been sending in donations, and I'll put her link up as well. And her thing is on our Instagram and on our Facebook pages, where you just send her email, and depending on your level of need, they have some money coming in, and they're allocating some of those funds. But like Michelle just said, there are things being set up, but they're asking for donations right now. So probably in the next week or so, a lot of those places will start giving out some of those relief funds. And there are a couple other ones, and I have posted them on our Facebook page where they're starting to actually ask for requests. So I'll be putting them out there as well. But beside me, again, I'll reintroduce her to Miss Laura Sligh. How you doing today?
I'm okay. I'm here.
Miss Laura is she is an artist in and of herself. Again, I said I first met her down at the youth theater at Arena Players. She was one of the directors and one of the instructors down there. But she is a director, a writer, an artist, all in her own right. And she had a play called Who Am I? Opening up at Micah for her graduate studies degree that she's actually about to get in a couple months.
About 6 weeks.
Well, the degree is coming regardless.
Yes.
But her project, her ending thesis project, was a immersive kind of mixed media production called Who Am I? And she actually wrote this piece and is directing it. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are, and then we can get to the production and where you are right now with everything being canceled or postponed?
Okay, so who am I? Who am I as well?
There
you go. My name is Laura Sligh. I'm an educator. I've been here for more than 20 years. I went to Morgan and graduated from Morgan.
We'll forgive her.
And I went back to school to get my master's in community arts. And that's how I ended up at Micah.
Okay.
And my undergrad degree was in performance, and then I got into being behind stage as well. I worked for Arena Players as an instructor for 10, 15 years down there as well. So it's kind of, I've done the whole gamut as a performer. I've done wigs and makeup and all that kind of stuff as well.
An urban artist, you gotta know everything.
Right, so. And this was is my baby in reference to, it's very apropos as to some of the things that we as African Americans are going through right now. And so it was my thesis project, part of it. I also am a visual artist, so there was an exhibition as well of my visual art. Of course, that is canceled as well. Postponed. Okay.
So in terms of where we are right now, you were actually going into production week right now, and your production was supposed to open up on the 28th, actually, next Saturday. where are you right now as an artist? Outside of being a logical thinker, where are you at right now as an artist and student, actually?
Just trying to recover. It's been a little overwhelming. Right now I'm in the process of moving out of my studio, which is a lot. We first had 2 weeks and they pushed it up till Saturday. So every email, there's something different. So it's...
Because information is changing and going back and forth.
Right, and initially I was hopeful, well, maybe we could open up in April and we could still possibly get the exhibition in, and then it went from that, then it, like I said, it changed every time. So it's a little disheartening, really.
And one thing that we both know, coming from academic theater, HBCUs, and community theater, the show must go on.
Correct.
And you have to figure out what to do. But in this case, what do we do? And I think a lot of us are now realizing we have to just go back to what we know and just go back to planning and just preparing. Because once the doors open back up, we got to go get out there and run, because all of these people are stopped and we're all going to be running towards some of the same goals. And even in talking to you, I can tell you haven't lost hope, but it's like, so I'm just going to think about what's coming next.
I've done everything I can. Initially, when we were pushed back to like, well, Micah's closing on the 27th. I'm like, well, can I squeeze in the 28th and 29th? Because it's like 2 days, 2 days more. Like, no. And I'm like, okay, let's regroup. All right, we'll record it during our tech week, the 25th and 26th. I'm like, okay, we're down for that. Then it changed again. So I'm like, okay, we can do it Thursday, which was yesterday. But then the governor had come on again, and some of my people were, I could hear it. I could hear it in the messages. I'm like, okay, it's time to call it. You know, I don't want to endanger anyone, and I don't want anyone coming out. You know, they were getting a little leery. So I'm like, you know what? We'll just call it a wrap. What I did ask my performers to do is to self-record. And some of their monologues and things of that nature, and then send it to me, because they will be home being bored soon. I'm sure everybody's kind of overwhelmed this week, but by the time we get to next week, I think we're going to get used to being in.
Right.
Send me the information. So I'll document some of that. I mean, I do have some recordings of documentation, but I might play around with that and do some video editing of different things, and still try to maybe create it from those different things, and then talk about the production has now become something else because of what has happened. So how do we redo this with, you know, a different medium?
I always look at moments like this, like it's for a reason. And whenever stuff like happens where a show gets canceled or something gets pushed back, like, what can I do to make whatever this is better? In terms of the art show, is there any ways that you can finagle that now online, or?
We haven't heard anything yet as far as Micah. They are talking about possibly doing something online, but they've never done an art show online, and all art doesn't necessarily translate well online. Some people are performance artists as well. And everyone's computer screen looks different, so it's going to look different on everyone's screen as well.
And it's really just, I'm seeing so many people now flock to the internet, and I'm seeing so, like, I just was watching a clip of the Palace of Versailles. They was doing a virtual tour, and I'm seeing so much. I've been going to a lot of workshops for museums the last couple of years,
yes, they do have
and
a lot.
now the internet is starting to be a big component of how they're doing their digital display, or everything is being saved on a digital platform, and the idea of now translating that to,
I think after this crisis, that's going to become the norm
on the academic side.
On the academic, but it has not been. So this is new, you know, new territory we're going into. But I must say, as wonderful as some pieces might look in online, sometimes when you actually see them, it doesn't. If you love it online, it's probably 10 times better than that live.
And it was more so using that as a tool to get people back in the door, but give people options.
Correct.
So I really want to see our academic theaters, even down to our community theaters, and our theater life in general, do things. We just saw Debbie Allen do a whole class online. So I'm hoping that the internet will never replace what is concrete and in your face, but I think it can be used as a tool to kind of get us in the door and kind of let us see a different perspective of what it is. And as artists, we have to be creative so people can see our work on different platforms.
Correct, because I was using, you know, Instagram and things of that nature, which is how you we connected. But a lot
is that new for you as well?
No, not really, but some of the things, the show is very deep and it hits hard in some places. So certain things I wouldn't necessarily want to expose you to per se. I want you to see that and feel that live.
Right. And that's that theatrical background, because we like to feel that intimate feel and not just, you know, just as we flipping through a page.
Right, and a lot of times we're used to flipping 2 or 3 seconds, maybe 10 or 15. If you're in the theater, I have you, you're a captive audience, and you must see the reality that I want to see.
At least no intermission.
Right, at least no intermission.
But I think right now it's going to force us to be a different type of creative, a different type of artist, and a lot of other platforms have already started to adapt this. But this moment is just taking me back because it's forcing me to plan differently now. Like we are, as theater artists, it's a miracle that our shows go on without a hitch. And you know, community theaters, we rarely have understudies. So you know, we are just go get it done. You know, your ankle twisted, limp a little bit,
suck it up and go
ahead. But you're trying to now find ways to prepare in a different way. Is that something that's going to go into your process for the next couple of weeks as we get through this?
It's a lot. In reference to this, once I calm down a little bit more, like I said, I'm having them send in the visual aspects of what they did, and I think what I'm going to actually sit down and do is just do some video editing and do almost the whole play with these original things. I've also asked my cast to send me their feelings on why they did the show, what it made them feel, things of that nature. So there will be some kind of documentary
or some
type
interviews, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that the conversation can be something that you can kind of suspend in time right now. But I'm loving how it's forcing us, specifically as performance artists, to get out of our own way and rethink how art can be seen. And I've been hearing that idea of immersive art being something now, but now including people in the process is something. This last play that I did with Troy was the first time that we involved people in kind of the marketing of it. Whereas, you know, you normally get that image or the wording and that's it, and then that's...
Yeah, I think it's more than that now. You know, back in the day, you might put an ad in the paper or you might get a blurb on, you know, the morning news, but you have to use Instagram and Facebook. And it's an easy way to reach a lot of people and people you don't necessarily know. Like,
outside of your circle. And that's really, I think, it's going to be beneficial to us in this process, because now we're all starting from the same space now. Many of us are on that same page. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show, only on BeExposedRadio.com with Miss Laura Sligh. And I'm going to call Miss Alana Nicole in a few as well. And she's going to talk about this relief fund that she has started and how that can help many artists and freelancers like yourself. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show, only on BeExposedRadio.com.
You're like an internal bleeder. Can't see your pain, but it can silently kill ya. So deeply wounded, but don't say a thing. Too afraid of what the people may say or think. So you just sit there and you suffer in silence. Your pride won't let you just uncover your secret. Don't wanna look weak in your image, it ain't worth losing. So you just act as if it's nothing happening. God sees you, and God hears you. Yes, God loves you. You're like an internal bleeder. Can't see your pain, but it can silently kill ya. Suicidal, depressed, but you won't say a thing. Too afraid of what the people may say or think. You feel alone even though the people surround you. Popping pills every night even though you know they can't solve it. The emotional pain, it just seems way too heavy. Your mind is racing, wanna scream, somebody help me. God sees you, and God hears you. Yes, God loves you. These type of people sit right under our noses. We don't find out till we're on IG scrolling. We post a few memes, but then it keeps on happening. Something's gotta change, we gotta start talking and telling the truth without the fear of judgment. Gotta come together and really start loving and heal these people cause they slowly dying. Help them believe that their life is worth living. God sees you, and God hears you. Yes, God loves you. I pray there's an end to this suicide demon. We're losing people too soon, they cutting and bleeding. They think no one cares, so I wrote this song to tell you, my God, he cares and he can hear you. He sees you when you're crying yourself to sleep, wondering if anybody hears me. You tell yourself you can't go on no more, but your life is worth fighting for. Don't leave this world too soon. There's so many people who really love you. Jesus is calling for you. He knows and he can hear.
Proceed with caution, sign a lane, I'm exhausted. Poppin' Zanny's and sipping out the faucet. I'm confused, don't know what I'm doing. Wait, what I'm doing? Got me going, where the f I'm going? Out of space, where I'm going? Wait, where I'm going? Wait, where I'm going? Out of space, where I'm going? Out of space, where I'm going? I'll be up in the way. I'll be up in the way.
listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome back. We're back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show here live only on BeExposedRadio.com. Everything is going haywire, but as artists, we have our creativity to always fall back on. And what I'm laughing because I'm going through the post, and I think a lot of us have forgotten. Like when we're not actively being artists, we're still artists. And there's plenty of things that we can be doing. And I've been trying to get comfortable with just being still for a moment because normally I get cabin fever. So I got to get out and do something. And I normally have the station to be able to come to and have an extra place to go. But I'm practicing being still. And for the last 4 days, I've been still. I haven't been overeating and trying not to, get sick or figure out all that. But as an artist, you have been in a graduate program for the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. And this is supposed to be a culmination of all the things that you've done. Is the visual art part of it as well? Or that was in addition?
The visual art isn't necessarily part of the show, but it has to do with certain elements of the show being unheard and disenfranchised. Okay. So the show speaks to that.
So as the playwright, speak to me what went into writing and what are we writing about?
We're writing about the African American experience. It takes us through some of our history. It goes historically as to how we got here. It questions why do we always need to explain what we're feeling or the fact that we are feeling, and why does it need to be justified, things of that nature. It also talks to some of the mentality that we as some African Americans have and where it actually came from. Mm-hmm. And in order to change, you need to know your history, but we need to know our history, and so do other people and other cultures need to know our history, and then what we need to do and be responsible for in order to change the outlook, our outlook, and our white counterparts' outlook. So the cast is multicultural, so it's a black and white cast. And we have those discussions about what people think or feel. I try to encompass the feeling and thoughts of all people of black nature, because sometimes when you're a black person that speaks well and has vocabulary, there's a thing, then there's the color thing, and then there's the hair thing, and then there's, and why do we do this to each other? And some people don't necessarily realize why or how, and we talk about that. We talk a little bit about the Willie Lynch letter and that mentality and a lot of that stuff. And
that's interesting, the idea of identity, because depending on what your perspective is, you go through it differently. So like say for me, I was in a predominantly white Catholic school system going through that, and I found myself not necessarily having to defend myself, but more so having to deal with people who thought they knew who I was, and having
based on a TV program, probably
a TV program, or the one person that's living in that neighborhood and how they were, and people just having a certain level of comfort with you that you're not comfortable with, especially being as though they don't know you and they're from a different culture. And just learning how to navigate through that without getting expelled from school. But and that was my story, but I'm hearing a lot of those things, and a lot of those elements that you speak of, like the Willie Lynch letter, is such a big component in what we're going through right now. But now, instead of the aesthetics of who we are, the class system is now taking over. And I got mine, now it's time for you to get yours type of mentality is now taking over where light skin, dark skin used to be. Is that, how much of this is from your personal experience?
Quite a bit is from my personal experience. However, I've did research, and you listen and you read from here and there, and I try to include everyone's experience who's a African American in the United States. So we have like the light skin thing with colorism. However, as I was talking to some of my light skinned people, they're like, but you could have said this, or did you know that this happened? Or like when
So that's different perspectives.
Right,
The same
even
issue.
more different perspectives. I'm like, I knew there was an issue, but I hadn't even thought about it in that perspective. Exactly, because it wasn't because I'm not light, I'm not dark, I'm brown. So
I tell people that people in the middle that normally don't see either of the extremes as much as people who are in those extremes.
Correct. Correct. So, it's with my lighter skinned actors, it was like, oh yeah, you're the white girl and you're this, and I was bullied for this. And then, the darker people are bullied for being so dark. So like I'm right in between. So
right. And in terms of and again, we went through the same thing with Pearly, but getting the non-black actors to be as honest as possible.
Right. Now that was an issue. So I had 2 read-throughs. I had a read-through initially with the black cast because there was a lot of, oh my God,
And you wanted them to have that freedom.
I wanted them to have that moment so they could, they needed to exhale. And then we had another read-through with later on with my Caucasian actors, and they needed to exhale too, and I need to explain to them, no one in this cast hates you or is going to come after you.
Right.
And we know that
because they personalize it.
Exactly. I said you're actors, and I'm thanking you for being here because you have to be brave in order to do this. Because unfortunately, you're doing a lot of the ugliness, and we know that's not you. But I need you to say all those words with vigor and make us feel something.
I wouldn't even say ugliness, but the truth of the matter.
Correct.
And it may not be their truth.
It's not their truth, but
it's something about doing productions like this that make people either uncomfortable,
exactly,
or you see who people really are, because how they learn how to be comfortable with it. But I think that's always the draw in doing mixed cast in that way, especially when there's racial issues coming up. Getting those characters to be as honest as possible, while still allowing these characters to be themselves, but not to throw daggers at those individuals.
Correct.
And keeping it. We all actors, right? So we playing
No,
characters.
my cast is good. They love each other. There's a great camaraderie. So that was never a problem. But it was it was a lot to ingest, and everybody needed a moment to breathe.
So how did you, without giving us a script, of course, how did you layer in some of those really heavy topics with today?
Well, it starts off with more of a contemporary section. We have an actor, a Caucasian actor that starts off with, I know my lineage and I'm a blue blood. I came over, established in Jamestown. Then we have another actor that's Caucasian that talks about, I am the American dream. I came over, came over from Italy, and we did this and we worked hard. And then we bring in the black folk. We know you did, but you're not judged. And if I'm the only one here, you're not held accountable for your whole race. You're just allowed to be you.
Exactly.
So we have those conversations, and we made it pertinent that even though it is today, racism still exists. And it's it's blatant. You might not see it because it never happens to you.
And compared to you being a writer and then the director and speaking in both of those hats, what would you want an audience to go away with? Either a question or a feeling or a thought?
The show was designed also to have a talk back afterwards, so we can talk back and get the audience feelings and things of that nature. It's a punch. It's a punch in the face. It's a punch in the gut. It's a lot to take, but I do feel there is some kind of resolution at the end. What can we do? What do we need to do? And we still have a lot more work to do in reference to get to some type of equity and equality.
Are you speaking to the individual or just us as a community in this?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Okay.
Definitely both.
Is it hard to still, because people still use word, we got to talk about this again, or why do you feel like it's important to give your perspective on a lot of these hot button issues?
Because like you said earlier, everyone has a different interpretation of what it is to be black. And you might think one way and this one might be another way. But whatever the interpretation is, and like some of us have made it and some of us haven't, you need to see all that.
Right.
And then working with kids, because I also teach as well, they don't know as much as you think they do. they know that we were slaves, and that's about it.
And I'm 36, and I'm in a classroom with people whose parents are younger than I am, and you can clearly see some of the stuff that I choose to talk about. It's just going over their face. It's like it's not even who is that. You know, normally they knew who Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X was.
Yeah.
Now that's not even a thing. It's not even an idea. We did a Black Mass project, and I let them pick their own people to be. And of course it was the Cardi B's. And I was like, no, we're not doing that. So we gonna go back to plan B, and Mr. Couser will choose. But I think it's such a significant thing because even adults have forgotten, or it was never a conversation for them in terms of knowing who we are. And now we're being faced with the same thing over and over. And I'm at an age where I'm starting to see something that was talked about now surface itself in our country with a president that we have. And that's a surreal thing because I was told that this would never happen again.
Right, and you know, my parents and stuff, my aunt was at Selma, and my dad went to the march in Washington. So, and I was talking to my aunt. She's like, I never thought in my day that I would see this type of thing coming back so hard.
And it's not even an underlined thing.
No, it's very blatant.
It's the leader of the free world. Like I couldn't imagine this happening right after a Barack Obama.
Right.
Like how could we be so angry at that representation that we go backwards into a time when that wouldn't even be a possibility. So in my mind, I'm happy that people are now not even doing works that have already been created, but people are at a space where they're recreating that will and having conversations like this. But speak to me about the different elements that you added, because there's voice and there's movement along with the written word.
Well, I've been spoiled being at the Playhouse. I've always had choreographers and things of that nature. So I'm like, how can I even do this without dance? Dance helps to tell a story. It helps to bridge a gap. Sometimes it gives the audience a place to breathe. And it's a continuation of the story. I didn't even see this without.
Could this have been done with your children that you teach?
No.
Okay.
This is definitely a show that's probably, I would say, about 12 and up.
Okay.
Because this would be, you would need to have a conversation probably before and definitely afterwards. Like I said, a lot of the kids, and we go in, so it's not something for a small child. I'd say a good, middle school, 12 years old and up, it's fine. But words and language is used, because a lot of times, even when we talk about the few times we do talk about ourselves or something's on television or whatnot, it's sanitized. It's very sanitized. And you kind of get the feeling, but then you don't.
Well, the whole foundation of it is gone once that happens. Because you've watered it down to a safe space for others to be able to digest it. Not even for us, for others to be able to digest it. And at that point, our point is gone. It's totally watered down to entertainment. At that point. So I'm not a person that will run out to a theater and watch something. I think the last time I watched something like was Birth of the Nation, and that's because I wanted to see how raw it really was. But even that was still, like you said, sanitized. It was safer. It wasn't as safe, but it was still safe. And I want to see work that shocks our children and our adults really into believing that this stuff is real. It's not just something that our great-grandparents went through. This is stuff that we're currently in right now. Look at how things are happening right now. There are people who are going through this that don't have a market in their neighborhood.
Correct, yes.
That are about to be on quarantine and all they have is that corner store. And
the subways, the buses, all of that is shut down, so they can't get out at all.
Now, I did not drive down here today. I caught the bus. And the bus was, so you come in the front door, so the first couple seats have been roped off and you gotta go in the back door. And I felt some kind of way about that. And the older lady was yelling at the bus driver, like, you could at least let me on and just let me walk by. And he didn't even like acknowledge her. And it was a black man. And I was just like, I know we gotta be safe, but this triggers people. Like, it was triggering me because I would have never thought that I would live in a space where I would see all of us having to sit in the back seat.
Again.
And all the same seats were empty in the front. And I understand the drivers wanting to be safe.
Correct.
Because they're on that bus all day, but it triggered me in a way that I didn't think I could be triggered. Because I don't remember that. I've just seen it and been taught it, but I've never really
and you
seen
felt it put you in that space.
Right, I felt and I like, in my mind, like, don't say anything. Don't say anything. But I was like, nope, I'm going right on MCA. This is unacceptable. If your bus drivers are too afraid to do this, then they don't need to be on here. But I never thought that conversations that you wrote about would be something that we would see actually playing out in moments like this. So we're going to take another quick commercial break. We'll be back with Miss Laura Sligh when we return. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on the Artist Exchange Radio Show, only on BigExposedRadio.com.
Like, the one thing you always gotta remember is people gonna try to project their insecurities onto you. But you can't listen to what them niggas saying. You gotta get out here and do your shit regardless. You gonna do what you love for the rest of your life anyway. So why not turn that shit into something? Be a man of everything. This shit bigger than you, man. Like, yeah, I'm good and all that, but you know what I mean? I ain't shit without y'all. So no matter what you up, you gotta go hard. Don't look. Can you imagine how I really having nothing is? Stomach growling, you ain't got no food in the fridge. Surviving on a jail diet of water and bread. No father figure, it's cause my father did. Mom bringing different niggas in and out the crib. No money, so you seen it's less than all your friends. But it a joke because your mother was a crackhead. Older sister hoeing off, giving all the homies head. I could wait for your response, but they love to hear me talk, so I just wait for the applause. I always knew that I was great, I got them haters so appalled. I'ma make it out the darkness, and my word is my bond. Delivering these bars while I'm gripping on my balls. Jealous niggas hate to see you succeed, so fuck them all. I'm the master of my destiny, nigga, you not in charge. You either on your grind or in the way, so get lost. Be a man of everything you say you stand for. Lead your people by example, being hands on. If you're back against the wall, then get your mash on. Fix your vision on the future like it's fast forward. The world is yours in due time, ain't gotta ask for it. I'm from the school of hard knocks, I took a crash course. Shit be stressful, my nigga, that's why I'm getting high. But that's life, and it's the code that I live by. And you know how it is where we at, nigga. They say money can't buy happiness, but I be happy as a bitch when I can have dinner. Learn from your losses or you end up like the last nigga. I fall off, I bounce back, I really come from the dirt. But if you wanna make it happen, gotta put in the work. The word will kick you when you down, and I know this shit hurt. And it's crazy cause your family is shit on you first. My sister stabbed me in my chest, I had a hole in my shirt. I never said a prayer for her on my way to the hurt. I died twice that night, man, I'm just happy to be here. And shit like that is the reason I never be scared. Was slipping through the smoke in the field, I couldn't see clear. It's deeper than the rap, I'm with the bottom.
Whatever happened to the times when we cared for one another? We shared the same respect. What is happening? We're trading what's important for shiny things. I can't allow this blasphemy. Why would you treat yourself like that? We didn't come this far just to fall right back. Don't lose full of the things that we've overcome. Full of unspoken battles we won. You're so much better than that. Sometimes the truth ain't always catchy as rap. But chasing cheese and you get stuck in a trap. Forget your crown and never bring it back. No. Why would you treat yourself like that? We didn't come this far just to fall right back.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Welcome back to the Artist Exchange Radio Show here live only on BeExposedRadio.com, and we're finishing up our interview with the Laura Sligh. Now I'm gonna have to say, I was introduced to the Arena Players by Winona Rock.
Oh,
she was my 4th grade teacher, and in order to get me to wear my glasses, she promised that she would take me around there to see a show, and I think they were doing a color for colored girls, I believe. And I remember being introduced, and she asked me, is it something that I want to do? And she took me in the office, and it was you and Miss Orange. And I just remember Miss Orange saying, well, show me what you got. And I being so afraid, all I remember was that red lipstick looking down at me. And I just was so intimidated. But to see you all like working, and then I came back down there with Amini Courts in college, and just seeing how you all worked with the children, it really made me want to work with children, because I didn't think about being a teacher up until that point. I just thought I was going to be an actor, and that was it. And I'm just going to focus on that. But working with children makes you realize your passion in a different way. How has it been being a teaching artist coming from a world of, say, the Arena Players, where you are mom, dad, teacher, nurse, all in one, choreographer, director?
Nothing's changed.
Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed, because when you're, like in the school system, a lot of times you have to do everything. So if I'm doing a show, I'm also thinking about what's the costuming, and do I have a budget, and what do I have in my house, and what can I pull from. Nothing has changed. Now I am the teaching artist in residence for Single Carrot.
Okay.
So and I'm at Margaret Brent. So I do have some budget to play with sometimes on some of my shows. So it's like, okay, fine. All right, so I know I can do this, so maybe I can order this, this, and this, and then maybe we can make that. And now what I have learned to do as I've gotten older is stop doing so much. And it's a hard lesson.
Stay in your lane.
It's like, this is my budget. This is what I'm going to do, and we're going to keep it here and not, because we do have a tendency to go over and over and over.
Our eyes and our imagination is so much bigger than our pockets.
And a lot of times people don't really appreciate it, and we're the ones losing sleep and having anxiety and
coming in early, leaving late.
Exactly. There's still that to it, but I've learned more. I've learned better to do more. You know what? I'm good. A little bit more self-care, and that took years. So,
and you actually sometimes get better results when you do that, because
you're rested.
Especially with children, they react how you reacting, and it doesn't get us anywhere when all of us are panicked or under distress or something. Is that heard? So it really so being a teaching artist, let us know some of the things that you want to see or you want to give to your students. Like, what are some of the things that you want to give, even though you're learning to not necessarily pull back, but not be as stressed out? What are some of the things that you want to give to your students?
Well, as I tell the kids, I give you as much as you let me give you.
Okay.
I have a lot of information. There's a lot of things we could do, but unfortunately, I can only do what you let me do. Because if I've got to do discipline and I've got to do this, you can only do with so much. And I feel bad because there's always those faces and those kids that are right there on every word, and they are ready to go, and they can't because we have to talk to, someone being silly over there. Now, I do have some relief because I do have an after-school theater program. Okay. So all those kids are ready and eager and waiting and want to be there.
Yeah.
So that's a whole different feel.
It is. You get so much more freedom in your creativity, and it's feel infinite when you get students who want to be there versus the ones that just had behavioral problems and they thought you had the magic wand to make it better. How long have you been in the school system teaching?
Oh, at least like 20 years.
Okay, okay. And now, we are now in a phase where the teaching artist is somebody that they want to take out of the school system, and it's more so just certificate
Right.
versus...
Well, I'm not under Baltimore City Schools, so I'm a private contractor. So, like, I'm in through at this particular school. I'm there through Single Carrot.
Okay.
So I'm coming through a theater program. So my principal wanted me there and asked for me specifically. So I'm in a little different boat. And then other schools that I've worked with, it's been either in after school programs or things of that nature, but it was something that the principals wanted. So they wanted some type of arts integration. And if you can hook a kid, you've got them. So maybe that kid wasn't the best reader, but I really want to do this, so we're going to practice more. We're going to learn how to read more, because I tell the kids, all those actors you see, they have homework. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, they have to go home and learn their lines. They have to memorize. They have to practice. And it's like vocabulary. If you don't know a word, you need to look it up, because how are you going to act it out if you don't know what it means?
We got adults that need to figure that out. But I love to see children's faces when they realize actors specifically within the performance art, we actually work hard.
Right,
it's
exactly.
not just getting up there being a character.
Right, it looks easy because we practice.
They don't see all those days.
Yes, it's hours. Yes, I'm like, you have to practice, and it teaches you life lessons. You have to learn how to time manage. So don't tell me, and I'm very clear with the kids. This is the date that this needs to be done. This is the date that this needs to be done. If it's not done by that date, I will cut. And unfortunately, this is an ensemble, so you might be affecting someone else. So just know that it's not just you, you are affecting the whole team.
I'm going to use that the next time I'm with some adults. I'm cutting this out, because that's nothing like an actor getting a part cut. That this will bring you to your knees.
And I'm like, once I've cut it, I don't bring it back. It's dead, it's gone. And the kids who work with me, they're like, oh, by now, because I have some kids I worked with for several years, they know, like, oh, okay, we got you. We gon', but I have a group of really good kids that like to perform, and they're good little actors. And
are they out of a school, or this is a private program?
This is out of the school. This is in my after-school theater program. I do work with them in the daytime if I have their class that quarter. But I've got a nice little bunch of quite talented kids.
Now, on the visual art side, when did that start?
That started maybe around 2012, 13, 14, not that long ago. It happened when I bought my home, and I always wanted to have artwork on my walls, and I couldn't find anything that I liked.
Right.
Or then some of the stuff I liked, I'm like, oh, it's how much? Oh, I could do that myself. And then I had two friends. One of them happened to go to Micah, and she was like, you need to come to Micah, because this is wonderful. Then I had another person who is an oil painter who does portraiture and stuff, and she's like, yeah, you good. I'm like, oh, I mean that's cute. I like it, but I just painted that for me to be on the wall. And they were like, no. So I went to an exhibition, and then I was like, really? It's some of the stuff that I was looking at that was supposedly art, and I was like, I'm so not impressed. So I'm like, okay, maybe.
That's the theater person for you.
Yeah,
it takes hard to process.
Yeah, I'm like, well, maybe there's some legitimate, to this. So I applied to Micah, and then also I'm at a point where it's like I want to do something different. And when I started looking in the job market, I had the experience, but I needed the paperwork.
Right.
So it was a necessary thing to do, regardless.
Going back to school, that is.
So it was a combination of all that. So my teacher's like, you didn't learn, and I'm like, well, I'm self-taught. Now, I love a little PBS and the little Bob guy, and I'll watch a little painting show here or there. I love that.
Now, YouTube University is still there for you.
And then I'm like, well, I've always painted, because I had to design sets. I've had to paint sets. And then when I had the luxury of to hire a set designer, I'm the director, so I'm usually the one that has to open up the place. So I'm usually watching, and I've always been the kind of person that's been like, "Oh, is that how you do that? Oh, okay, I ain't got to hire you. Next time I'll just do that myself."
So you came at art through fabrication, almost.
Correct.
So is this your work on the floor?
No, this is one of my cohorts. She designs this. I don't do graphic, this type of design.
Okay.
My mind doesn't think this way.
We never know what this quarantine going to do. You never know.
All right. This is Aliana Grace Bailey. This is her design. We talked about it, and this is what she came up with, and I love it. I think it's beautiful.
All of it. So what is your degree in, or what will your degree be in?
Community arts. So basically, it's just what it is. Artists that work with the community.
Okay.
Which is what I do already. So.
And I'm appreciating you using all your different facets, and you're not feeling like you have to choose one different thing in order to go at this. Was Micah easy for you, being as though you had already been in the field?
It was for me. I mean, it opened some doors and made you think of certain things, because some of the pieces in here were inspired by what we were doing in class. And they gave me the freedom to write. Because while I do paint and things of that nature, my process is longer, where I have some people in my class that could sit here and while we were talking, they would have been drawing the whole time and would have drawn you and the set, and I'm like, no, that's not me. I need a moment. But they gave me the liberty also to be able to do certain assignments through writing and things of that nature. So
you said you had went to Morgan, and your degree there was
performance.
Yeah,
so vocal.
Vocal performance. Okay. So how do you use that degree, or how did that connect with the theater?
I don't know. Let me see. When I came out of Morgan, I had the performance degree, so I knew how to sing. But I realized that I like to sing, but I don't like opera and things of that nature to that extent. So I started getting into theater, and who knew that I could act and do all these type of things.
So you didn't do theater at Morgan at the time?
No, I didn't do theater at Morgan. And the programs weren't intertwined the same way that they are now, where
especially not that music department,
where the vocal and the music would intertwine, and you would get that cross section. They were very separate at the time. So now it's a lot of the actors are from that music department. So you get that now, but they didn't get that. We didn't get that then when we were there. And I had no idea at the time that I would direct and actually like directing. I like doing all of it. The easiest thing to do is to be the performer, because all you got to do is you.
But after doing all that, especially if you're coming from school, to just be the performer seems like the toughest thing to just settle down and do.
The only thing I find tough about it is because you're a director, sometimes you have to bite your tongue. Because I'll be like, be quiet. I'm not the director.
That is hard. That
is kind of hard. But hopefully you're with a good director, so you don't have to worry about it, because they'll be like, they got that. Okay,
so I think this last show and maybe one other show was the first time I was able to just let go and let that inner diva kind of work itself out. But that's the most daunting thing, especially when you're a teacher and you directed. It's hard to just sit still and
but not to worry about
decisions for your character.
Exactly, because it's like, and you work hard as an actor. You do. But I keep telling the children, as hard as you work, I'm working harder than you. So all I need you to do is give me 100%, because I'm doing 150.
Right.
So
easy.
So you went to bed, but I'm still up 4, 5, 6, 8 more hours worrying about the costumes. I'm on the internet searching. I found something I like, but can I find it cheaper? And then
can I make it? Can we figure out a way?
Can I get a favor? What you doing today?
But how? And I tell people, coming from the community theater and academic theater, especially a Coppin and Morgan, we have had to learn how to do everything.
Right.
So it's nothing that, even if we don't know how to do it, it's nothing for us to pick it up as we're doing it. How has that helped you and hurt you in terms of coming to a place like Micah that has all the resources that you may need?
I don't think it's hurt me at all. Like I said, sometimes during my career, I've had the luxury of having a budget and being able to hire craftsmen to do, I have a lighting designer, I have a sound designer, I have money to do stuff. So you enjoy it when you have it, and then when you don't,
you really enjoy it.
Yeah, you really enjoy it. And when you don't, you make do with what you have, and that's really what you're doing. You know, a lot of the schools, my school doesn't have a stage, doesn't have a theater, doesn't have, you know, so you work with what you have. Now, hopefully,
make that gym a magical place.
Hopefully, they have a budget. You know, this year, can we get some, you know, drape and pipe, and then maybe next year we can do a sound system, and then maybe can we charge a little bit? Because then we charge a little bit, I can get, you know, you try to figure it out, and hopefully that'll work. But then you have to also educate the parents and the family, because if they're not used to paying for a show or having to come and do this, you have to show them that we're stepping this up, and we need to step it up each year.
You're not a daycare center, so they can't pick the child up in the middle of the process versus at the end of the process, and they have to be there every time. Those are some of the things that I think parents are learning right now. So I don't think when they come back, they gonna be picking them up early and everything will be after school. But which one would you prefer? Would you prefer being the teacher or the performer on stage?
In a perfect world, I would probably be the performer.
Okay.
And then I would say a director.
Is it a role that you've done that has stuck out to you, that kind of stays at the forefront of your mind?
No, not anyone in particular. I mean, I've done a couple of really nice shows, and right now, of course, they escape me. Performing for me now, because I haven't performed as much, because at one time I was doing 4 or 5 shows a year, and it's real easy to lose you as a performer, because if I'm doing 4 to 5 shows a year, I'm always in production mode and looking for the next, you know.
And thinking about doing that like that now, I know for me, it's like, let me just do this one, and we can talk about number 2.
Right, but I was doing 4 or 5 a year, you know, and when do you have time? And I kind of lost myself because I was only teaching/directing.
Okay.
So I didn't perform. So it was years before I performed. The last show I did was the Vagina Monologues. We did that at Creative Alliance, and that's been about 2 years now.
Okay.
Where I was a performer. It's like, oh, okay, wait a minute, it's been a minute, okay.
Do you want to pick that back up?
I would love to. I would love to, because I love to do it. I just haven't done it in a while. There was a time where it was one show after another, and then, like I said, I started directing, and then, you know, 2 shows a year, and it started kind of gradually. It was 1 or 2, or a little bit. I might come and do makeup here and do this, and then it just.
Then you just looking out on stage,
and then it was like 4 or 5 shows a year. So that's a lot.
Okay.
That's a lot.
Is there any shows that you want to direct, out of anything that you're personally writing or working on, but any shows out there that you think you want to direct?
I've always wanted to do Liggins.
Okay.
And I've loved that show, and that would be a wonderful show to do in the right space, and with you would have to have a lovely budget for that.
Why that show?
It's the pageantry of it. I love the show. It's a good storyline as well. I love that show. I've done Dreamgirls like 3, 4, 5 times. I was in it, I think, here in Baltimore, I think the first show when it was released, and then I've worked on it like 3 or 4 different times, so I'm good with
I
that.
would love to do a show like that, but those are one of those shows that have so many moving parts.
It does.
That I could only I wouldn't even want to be an actor in that. I can be your stage manager. It was just too much. The last time I think I did it was with Hugh Curry, when the last time he did it at Couser, and I was like, this is a lot. And it's a musical, but it's a lot of moving parts, and there's so many people. Do you like large casts like that?
I don't have a problem. I mean, I have a large cast now.
But see, you used to 40 students.
I've had like 60 kids. Yeah, so it's just time management.
Okay.
I mean, when I did Dreamgirls at the Playhouse, it was Ed Terry. So I started out as stage. Yes, I started out as my title was stage manager, and then Ed was like, "Well, you know, you really were my assistant director." I'm like, "Thank you, I know that," but that meant a lot for him to actually say that, because there was a lot lot of personalities and a lot of fires to be put out.
That show, and just in general, you will have at least 5 divas in a show like that.
Yeah. Actually, the divas weren't really bad. We had one particular one that just played on everybody else. But it all worked out. I mean, it was a fabulous cast, but it was drama, definitely.
Now, I know, a lot of people from the Arena Players has done The Wire or Homicide. Have you gone on that side of acting? Was that a desire for you?
Never did The Wire. I've done commercials and stuff like that. So I've done filming. I did a movie, and I don't even remember what it was called anymore. It's been so long, but it was an independent film that opened up, they had a preview at the Charles and stuff like that. So I've seen myself on the huge screen. You're like, wow. So I've done some stuff like that. And
but TV film never been...
I don't have a problem with that. I mean, the nice thing about film is you can cut, but my thing is like with the commercials and stuff, I think my directors like me because I came already off book. I knew my lines. And just coming from a theater background, I'm like, it's like 10 lines. Why shouldn't I know my... You want to use a teleprompter? I'm like, it's 10 lines. I'm good. Hit it.
And that's how you can always pinpoint a stage actor. Because they already come prepared, and they normally a little bit louder than everybody else. So in terms of kind of building your niche in this career, where do you see yourself going now? You've gotten your first full-length production under your belt in terms of writing it. Where do you want to go with this newfound degree?
I think if I remain teaching, I want to do more on a collegiate level. I also definitely want to do more with the visual artwork, definitely. So
kind of mingling them, or do you want to keep them separate?
I don't have a problem with them mingling. I haven't really thought about that. Right now, I think of them more as separate entities, but there's no reason why they can't combine with each other as well.
Any place you want to show, or
everywhere?
Everywhere.
I want to be in every major museum, of course. Yes, between here and New York, across the world, across the country.
Are you ready to start traveling with it?
If they're paying me, yes.
Okay.
The thing about a lot of shows, which people don't know, sometimes they don't necessarily pay to ship your work there, and that's where your biggest expense is.
Really?
Right, so you've got to insure it and you've got to ship it, and that's where your expense lies. So,
do you have a independent or independent show idea together? I know you're doing more collaborative with school right now, but
not right now.
Okay.
We might be thinking about that depending on how long we're home. In reference to something like that, right now I'm in the process of filling out applications for residencies and things of that nature.
Okay.
So that's my next step, because most of the residencies come with shows built in.
Right.
And then you're also exposed to other artists, other creatives, and and then there's not the pressure of being in school and having to make art for a particular thing. You can just be.
And see, and the reason I love growing up in theater was because most people who come from academic art, they don't know what to do outside of a teacher giving them a framework or a syllabus. So coming from a world where you got to really create and build on whatever you're given or whatever the circumstance is, I think we're more prepared than anything else. And I like that feeling of being prepared in a space of not having any agendas. You're just able and free to just create. And I love that freedom. That's why I love theater over any other art form, because you get to try different things and come in and play and mold and shape.
And you live with it for a while, and you also have feedback from the audience.
Right.
And granted, every audience is different. Some audiences are more quiet than others, but sometimes you may not even have recognized that an audience would take a line a certain way. You're like, oh, really? Okay, so let me play with that a little bit.
Right, or something that never got a laugh in rehearsal. Get this roaring applause.
Yeah, and you're like, So you get to live with it, and when you do a show for 2 or 3 months and things of that nature, you're doing 200 or 300 shows, so you get to grow with the character.
What's your style as a visual artist, if you had to define your style?
I don't know, because I just had a critique recently, and the artist was like, I can look in your studio and it feels like I see 3 different people depending upon what I'm working on at the particular time. So I...
Do you see that, or was that
Well, I know I can understand where you came from that, because I do a lot of textural art, so that has a feel, that has one feel, and then my paintings might have another feel, and then I have some paintings that are more fantasy, and then some paintings that are more based in the reality of disenfranchised people. So they all have different feels. So what I'm probably going to do is end up doing a series of different types of things, because depending upon what I'm working with, they will have a totally different feel.
So we're going to take our final break. I'm going to call Alana during the break, and we're going to get a little bit of information on this fund that she has coming up, and then we'll be closing out with Miss Laura Sligh when we return. Don't go anywhere. The Artist Exchange Radio Show, only on BeExposedRadio.com. I love all the...
To find who we really are, crash into something new, take a break from my broken heart. Talk with the head, tell me you lie, I think we should go for another round. Baby, try not to say too much, let your love come down. If you wanna rule, it's the rules you gotta live by, live by. Stay true, let it go, make a move, don't wait on nobody else. And if it feels like a melody, sing a song we already own. And if you follow me back, I'll follow you back. And let the night unfold. I can tell that she can't get enough. Show enough, she couldn't. Feels so funny, I know she couldn't. Feels so funny. Touching legs till we dance in the dark. Show enough, she couldn't. Feels so funny. We do whatever we like. Feels so funny, I know she couldn't. Feels so funny. So let's slide, you and me alone, to find who we really are. Crash into something new, I got that leg bringing up the car. Told me you kiss, told me you lie, I think we should go for another round. Baby, I wanna take you, but we gotta groove so we can lose the crowd. If you wanna rule, it's the rules you gotta live by, live by. Stay true, really cool, make a move, don't wait on nobody else. And if it feels like a melody, sing a song we already own. And if you follow me back, I'll follow you back. And let the night unfold. I can tell that you can't get enough, show enough, you couldn't. Feels so funny, I know she couldn't. Feels so funny. Touching legs till we dance in the dark, show enough, she couldn't. Feels so funny. We do whatever we like. Feels so funny, I know she couldn't. Feels so funny. You can be my radio. Follow me back, follow you back. Let the night unfold. That you can't get enough, show love, show love. Feels so funny, keep your hands up. Feels so funny, shoot it, do it. Feels so funny, yeah. Legs till we dance in the dark, show love, show love. Feels so funny, we do whatever we like. Feels so funny, I know she couldn't. Feels so funny.
listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
The Artist Exchange Radio Show here live only on BeExposedRadio.com. I could not get Lana on the phone, but if you're listening, Lana, let's try to work on Monday if we aren't locked down or military bases at that point. But I'm sharing out Alana's information. She did a really great thing in starting a fund that got a lot of organizations and individuals into helping and supporting and donating, and she has already started giving out the money. It's not like she's hoarding it. She could have been one of those artists, but she's definitely, if you reach out to her, and the information is a Google Doc as well as a email address that you can send the information out to, and she gets back with you within a day and asks you a couple questions, and she sends it to your Cash App. It was just that simple for me.
Wow.
And
Okay.
and she's doing it that grassroots, and there's a lot more established art organizations that are starting actual funds to kind of support artists and freelancers and entrepreneurs to get us back on track. I want people not to panic because, again, we're all in the same boat now. I think that was the underlying message of this. Now we're all in the same boat. What can we do? And we can't go by favoritism and I know this or I have this. We're all in the same boat. Many of us are thinking about what we're going to do on the 1st of April with rent and mortgage and cell phone payment. We're all in the same boat. So I want all of us to try to talk more. All of us got our Twitter fingers ready. So let's have conversations more. We have now time to talk. Everybody ain't so booked and busy.
You can actually talk and not text.
Right, exactly. So let's figure out some things to do. And I'm going to try to work on, if we're here on Monday, getting Alana here or having a full out conversation. Because Alana is a girth of information. She's the voice of Station North. That's her new title. She does a lot of PR and promotion for artists, specifically for women and artists of color. She does a lot of helping us to kind of get our social media and all that together. So if you don't know Alana Nicole, look her up on Instagram, Twitter, and she's on every major platform. So look her up and see what you can help her do. And this fund is not only to give out, but for others to help each other. So give a little and you'll get a little. And that's it. So in finishing out with Miss Laura Sligh, I have a question that I normally ask. Well, I'm going to ask you one more question before I ask you that one. So you giving us kind of your perspective as a visual artist. And there I've discovered 4 types of directors. The student director that does everything by the book. The audience director that is looking from the perspective of the audience, the technical director that is looking at all the spectacle, and then you have that catch-all director that is kind of a healthy blend of many of them. Which type of director do you see yourself being?
I see myself as a catch-all because I came initially as a performer.
Okay.
I know what it means to be a performer, and I know what the performer goes through. So I understand exactly what's going to happen, and half the time I can predict, if you don't do what I say, this is what is going to happen in reference to working with students. I've also done stage management. I did a fellowship at Arena Stage in Washington.
Okay.
So I know technical theater. I also know enough tech-wise to know when I need to go get somebody else to help me. Because I can call the show.
My call list.
So I do a little bit of catch-all, and because also I'm makeup and costume oriented, I'm also planning that. And so when I'm looking at a show, I'm looking at what it's saying, how I'm going to block that, how I'm going to stage that. Then I'm also looking at what the look is, because when I go see a show, if something doesn't match, I'm upset. So I'm like, are we supposed to be in the 50s? Because that's 50s. And that's 60s, and that's 70s. I need the through line to be constant acting, and then I also need it with the costumes as well, as because I look at that also. Right. And a lot of times, some directors, the costuming and the look is what they think of at the last minute.
Now, see, because you didn't do it in college, but I'm sure you did theater before college.
I did 2 shows maybe in high school. I did Hello Dolly and My Fair Lady.
Okay.
My Fair Lady. Those were my first 2
shows.
shows.
42nd Street, Damn Yankees, the same bunch. But in terms of how important is it for artists in general to learn other aspects of art? how important is that for you, or giving that advice to
Mm-hmm.
a becoming artist or artists that are struggling because I only got this one trick up my sleeve?
Someone told me, and I don't remember who, but in order to be in this business, you need to know how to do more than one thing so you can always feed yourself. So if I don't have an acting gig, but I also do hair or makeup, so I can hire myself out as this person, or I can stage manage, or I can do this. So I don't know who told me that. I don't know if someone told me that or I figured it out, but that's helpful. So you're also, you know, getting gigs in different areas.
I hated it in the beginning because I felt like it's taking my time from the stage, but
you're not on stage right now.
Paid the most,
right?
And more
Sometimes.
frequently. So, is it important for you, in terms of being a teacher, to give that wraparound education to your students?
I tried to tell them. I tried to teach them that. Well, I don't want to act. Well, everyone needs to learn how to act because one day you're going to have a job and you're going to have an interview. So some of the skills that you are learning now, I need you to learn how to look someone in the eye. I need you to learn how to articulate and stop mumbling. I need you to speak loud. You may not be the greatest actor. And the reality of it is most of you will not become actors, because we're not even going to talk about the percentage of people who are actors and who actually make it. So that's a whole another thing. However, these are skills that are life skills. And then I also teach you time management, because you need to learn my lines and you still need to do your homework, and I need you to project.
Now, did you realize, because that became a skill set that I realized as a teaching artist, I had kind of to get the students who didn't want to be artists and teaching them life lessons, skills that will be required in any field you go into.
Exactly.
Presenting yourself, projecting, articulation, all those things that we think are only for performance artists, but everybody needs these
They're
things.
not, because if you have ever sat in a meeting and the person who you have to listen to is monotone, it's hard. So you don't want to be that person. And then also I try to teach the children that while most people in the arts, especially when it comes to theater, may have started out on the stage, but there's so many other jobs that are behind the scenes. So this is just the first exposure. But do you like to draw? Well, then you can be a set designer.
Right.
And then there's a lighting designer, and we have sound design, and we
like
have
history,
costumes.
we got
You have drama. Yes. So it's like there are a lot of other jobs that you don't necessarily see that have to do with theater.
Or you don't see how what you are capable of can be fit into any type of performance entertainment background.
Correct.
And that's I didn't realize that until maybe year 4 or 5 into being a teaching artist, that I think I'm more of a life skills teacher than sometimes drama. And we go into a lot of these public schools where they are missing a lot of at-home skills, like talking to each other, communication. And I find myself teaching communication, problem solving, public speaking before I even can get to the theater aspect of it.
And you have to problem solve, because it's like, at a certain point, I'm not saying anything. You need to figure it out. Actors are smart people. You have to think.
Or if that person give you that look on stage, you
better do something. You better figure it out. That's what we call improvisation. Then we worked the last 3 weeks on improvisation. There you go. Figure it out. Don't look at me, because my hands are going to be up. There's nothing I can do. You're out there on your own. The director, I've had some directors that don't know when to stop directing. And it's very frustrating as a performer.
Or give you your job to do as an actor.
Right. So it's like at some point, the director has done all they can do. Now you as an actor have to breathe life into it. I've given you everything you need to do. I've given you the tools, and now I need you to do that. And that's a lesson that I've learned, is being an actor. It's nothing worse than having a director that won't be quiet after a certain point. We need to feel out each other.
Audience director.
Yeah. We need to feel each other out. We need to get a rhythm. We need to get a timing. I had one director that, instead of waiting to give the notes at the end, he's interrupting the flow every time to get, I need that to be at the end. Let me work this out. Let us figure this out so we can get a feel of each other.
So I came up with one more question, then I'm going to ask you the final question. Give me maybe 4 names of those people who you looked up to at Arena Players. Some of those souls gone home, or some of the people that kind of gave you that strengthened that platform.
Oh, that's easy. Sam Wilson, Ed Terry. Ed Terry was definitely like a mentor. Yes. And Sandra Meekins. I'm not sure when I met Sandra, but I know I was stage managing.
Just always there.
I was stage managing a show, and long time since yesterday, I believe that's what it was called. And she had it was like 5 women cast, and she had this monologue, and I said, when I grow up, now granted I was probably like 20 anyway, but I'm like, when I grow up, I'll be like her. She was she was wonderful, and I was like, oh, I want to be like her.
I think she's touched so many people and don't even realize it. My last question to you is, what advice would you give to your 17-year-old self, and what question would you ask to your 100-year-old self? And that's how we'll close out.
Oh, I don't want to be here at 100, but let's try 17 first. 17, be more brave and take more chances. I mean, I made it here, but I wish I had figured it out a little earlier, because some of these, it's easier to be more daring when you don't have as much responsibility. Now it's like, I got this to pay, so I can't necessarily go run off because I have real life.
But you're being more creative in that responsibility now.
100.
What question to the 100?
The question. I'm hoping I wouldn't have a question, because I'm hoping if I'm here to 100, I've done everything that I want to do.
Okay. So that's been it. We made it through. Thank you, Laura.
No problem.
I appreciate it. Call me when this goes up.
Okay.
It is coming soon. I put the word on that. And we spoke about Sandra Meekins, and the first time I met her, she did a poem right in front of me, and we was only two in the lobby. She said, "Hey, black child, do you know who you are? Who you really are? Do you know you can be what you want to be if you try to be what you can be? Hey, black child, do you know where you're going? I mean, really going. Did you know you can learn what you want to learn if you try to learn, if you can learn what you can learn? Hey, black child, did you know you were strong? I mean, really strong. Did you know you could do what you want to do if you try to do what you can do? Hey, black child, be what you can be, learn what you can learn, do what you can do, and tomorrow your nation will be what you want it to be." Thank you, Sandra Meekins. Thank you, Lord Sligh. Thank you, Miss Michelle Guise. Thank you to Alana. We'll talk to you later. This has been the Artist Exchange Radio Show, only on BeExposedRadio.com. Who am I? Come and see. Thank you so much.
Listen to this flashback of Skyline Radio Show.
So where we at? Where we talk about the effects and what's going on in these schools. And what people don't understand. Just real briefly, I just want to talk a little bit about what people say bullying is or is not. So bullying comes in many forms. It's a teasing, it's the cyberbullying, it's the texting, it's the phone calls, it's the posting of pictures and people's personal information to pretty much cause them harm, to have them feel insecure. It's the sex assaults that people actually put out there. There are physical assaults, and there are mental assaults and emotional assaults. And what I like to remind individuals that any aggressive behavior towards anyone that is